And these Tamils are all polite. No, I'll take some fish and a banana, you know. And I'm like, you come here, it's the opposite, you know. So they did a whammy on us. That's what I see. Especially that now we come into the fold of understanding our natural nature, and we know who and what we are. It's becoming more and more clear, more and more evident. It's almost scary to be around them. You know what I'm saying? And this is not hatred. This is literally science. I need to understand who and what you are, and who and what I am. I need to understand what you have done to my people and to my mind. That way my children don't have to go through that. And they call it being racist or racism. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what it is. Okay, I'll be a racist insofar as I'm studying you. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. Like you have anthropologists, paleontologists, racist. What's the difference? I can tell you what's the same. They both study those fields. So I'm going to study the natural nature of each race. And the most important thing I have to study is myself. Because once I understand my natural nature, who or what I am, and I start to exercise my natural nature, right, then all things around me and through me will move naturally. Then we won't have the problems that we have on a daily basis as Nagaru, right? We won't have relationship problems that we have right now. Going back to the point that the brother was bringing up, we are operating outside of our natural nature. And the first thing we have to do is recognize us. Recognize that. That doesn't mean be irresponsible. Because that's another thing also. You know, once you come to the realization that, okay, I know why I do this, you know, like the brother pointed out, you know, in Africa, it's very common to have more than one wife. But guess what? You can't have more than one wife with the mindset of a Caucasian. Being over lustful, thinking of sex only. Because what happens after that? You bring in diseases into your household. You don't know how to control that. You know what I'm saying? You become a nymphomaniac. You become chemically imbalanced, like they are. Because they're definitely chemically imbalanced. But to bring it full circle, right, it's all about understanding the nature of the Caucasian. That's the first thing, if you want to really study them. And part of that, knowing, every time, you notice, every week, you drop more and more about that. You know what I'm saying? I hope that was helpful to you. Anybody else have any more questions? Go ahead. Her hand's not even up, but I know she got a question. Go ahead, sister. It's all good. We all down. Oh, the one behind.
I'm not sure what verse, but the Divine Love book.
The Divine Love book.
Yes. He was telling us what divine love is not.
Do what?
He was saying that what he has for us is divine love.
Do what? Go ahead.
So what I want to know is, because we have been taught what we thought love was, then we have to. Is he saying that we need to become like what he is, to not love how we do, because I guess it's a lower emotional Caucasian love or something? I mean, I don't know.
Okay, have you read chapter, what is that? The Patarok number 23, The Three Loves. Have you read that book?
No, but it sounds familiar. I think I read something out of another book.
Okay, if the brother could write on the board 3 words, you have Ashok. And next to that, if you could write divine love. Underneath that, you have what you call Sha'op. And Sha'op is spelled in English S-H-A-E-U-P. And that form of love is what you call darling love of another. Sha'op. Sha'op is our language. By the way, our language is called Nuwaupu, Nuwapik, or Nuwaupu. This is our tones. And under that you write Habub. And that is contact love.
So, when you say contact love, can you explain what you mean by that? Like, for example, you have a child, you have a husband, you got a mom, sisters, brothers, husband, friends. you love them all.
Absolutely.
But everybody said, but it's a different type of, it seems like it's a different kind of energy, but it still ends up being love.
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
And then love for, you know, the Nadaru. That's a whole different thing right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. All of these loves have a connection. And the key word is connection. How do you connect? Because everything is contact. Remember, many years ago, Pt.2 opened our eyes to the fact that everything that we thought was 5 different senses is really touch, one sense. Let's name them. You have seeing. And what is seeing? That's right.
Optic nerve.
Absolutely. Light enters into the eyes and it touches or connects, right? And it causes a chemical reaction that interprets it as images that we see right now. That's a form of contact. What else do we have?
Hearing.
Hearing. And what is hearing?
Sound touches the eardrum.
Exactly. The sound particles is carried from its source, right, into your eardrums, and it connects or contacts, touch. What else?
Smell.
Smell. That's right. Particles, small particles are touching the nerves inside the nose, and it's interpreted as smell. What else?
Taste.
Taste. Exactly. That's also a form of touch. And last but not least, feel with your hands. It's still a form of contact. So, habub, let's start with that, is a form of contact love. How do I connect with the thing? How does it stimulate me? Right? Because you are still physical. That's something that we cannot forget. We can't get so spooked out. Because we went through that school. You understand? And especially in religion, people literally disconnect themselves from reality. You have irreality and you have reality. The reality is you are physical. That is a portion of you vibrating here. You're also spiritual. And you're also soulful. You understand? Ironically, all 3 loves ties into those principles. You understand? So contact love, let's start with that. How do you connect to the world around you and outside of you? That would be a form of contact love. I appreciate or I love the serene form that nature brings about. When I stand on a hilltop and I watch the sun rise. I love that. That's a form of contact with nature. You understand? I love to smell the flowers. That brings a certain sensation in my being. And I feel a form of appreciation. Now you just moved from contact to a darling love. Right? Darling love is also attributed to those who you hold dear. There's a spiritual connection to darling love. A mother to her child. It's more than this necessity. Because darling love could also translate as how couples relate to each other. Is that your darling? Or is your wife your darling? Or is your child your darling? Is your grandmother your darling? Is your best friend your darling? Is your tribe your darling? You understand? That's how you connect. Now, it has a higher form or attribute to it. And that's more of a spiritual contact. You understand? Then you have the highest form of love, which Pt.2 is striving daily to raise our vibration to that level. And that is divine love. The best example of divine love is exactly what he has done for the last 50 years. That is divine. I mean, we have, talk about patience. Look at how easily we get upset over the smallest minute things. You understand? So easily. It could be a small thing, somebody step on your shoes, or somebody say, roll that the wrong way. You understand? This is us. This is how we do it. And it's really not that deep. That divine love, right, should overtake it all. And I asked you, why did you read that book? Because during the end of that book, or the whole book, should I say, the 3 loves, right, is talking about Ashuk. Ashuk. I'm going to just read a little something about it real quick. I'm going to go up to Ashuk, the highest love. Ashuk, divine love. Ashuk, divine love is Yah which opened the gates to Pt.2. How do we know that? Because Pt.2 are the ones who prepared a being to transform us from mortality into immortality. Right? From living in this dead-like state of dependency on that which is not ours, to give us everlasting life, to spare us from being the fate of a mortal which is destined to die. That is Pt.2 Yanun. He is the expression of divine love here for us. And his being was prepared, which means what? He also holds in his essence divine love. His example is that which we must learn to embrace. You understand? It is by way of Wu-nuwaupu. It is by way of Pt.2 that lead us into the doorway of divine love. But also, I ain't gonna say but, also, all three loves are still a part of you. You understand? The lower frequency of love is that which Caucasian have, that of animalistic. I just like the way you make me feel. Touch, contact, or self-love. You understand? I will do anything to make it in this world. I will hurt other people. I will kill other people. It's all about me and mine. The whole empire is based on self-love. Think about it. They'll do anything. They'll lie in your face. They will take from your mama. They'll take from your granddaddy. It doesn't matter. They'll keep you in a state of servitude just to sustain themselves. That's how they think. So when they give the power to rule for 6,000 years, look how they abuse it with lower forms of emotions that we interpret as love. You understand? That's what it's all about. Are you going to be here tomorrow? For those who don't know, tomorrow we are hosting...
No, I won't be
You're not?
No,
okay.
I can't.
Well, we'll make sure we videotape it. Because the whole theme tomorrow is about love. You understand?
Oh, that's nice.
And to touch on that subject, you know, Pt.2 Yanun also put out several books. One is called Valentine's Day. Is Valentine's Day a Christian holiday? And when I say people sleep on that book, they sleep on that book. This book here really touches on love. In fact, I'm going to read a portion of it, you know, for the class. Okay, this is on page 61 of Is Valentine's Day a Christian holiday? And the question is, what is love? Answer, there is no real words to describe what Nubians, we know today, Nuwapians, feel as love. Only the Canaanites of Mokasu way to love. And their love is what animals have called instincts. For example, you touch me the way I like, and like a dog, I love you. You feed me and give me things, and I love you. Agree with me, and I love you. That's how animals love. You are not animals. You are a spiritual being who fell from grace. And back then, we understood as falling from grace was, you know, in the religious terms, we were once angelic beings, right? And we reduced or fell from grace because we listened to a particular being. Now we know that in this day and time is we were able to reduce our divine vibration as 9 ether down to 6 ether. And now we're vibrating on their level. How do you know that? Look at how our people portray love. Think about it. You know what I'm saying? From woman to man. If you don't do what I like, how I like it, if you don't give me what I want, then you're not expressing love. How did that happen? So they reduce us from being tribal to being like them. From loving on a larger frequency to loving like them. You understand? There are tribes in Africa that have welcoming ceremonies when somebody enters the tribe. The whole tribe will stop what they're doing and sing for that person. Where did that come from? Why do they do that? Because they're vibrating on a different frequency or vibration. I'm just using that as an example. In this day and time, if you don't give me that toy I want, then you must not love me. If you don't give me the clothes that I want or the shoes that I want, then you must not love me. They even teach children that. You understand? And even with their so-called holy days, they incorporate that. Like Pt.2 Yanun expressed, right? Let's name the holidays real quick. You have Valentine's Day. What is Valentine's Day supposed to be about? Love. So now they're controlling your love life. Let's move further. Christmas. What is that about? That's right, toys, giving gifts. So now they're controlling when you give gifts. Thanksgiving.
Gluttony. Greed.
Okay, but what is the spirit of Thanksgiving?
Giving thanks.
Giving thanks. Right? Exactly. That's what they teach us. So now they control when you give thanks. Let's think of other holidays. What else?
Halloween.
Halloween. That's the day of fright and fear.
Yeah.
And isn't it ironic? You turn on the radio, everything is about fright night and scary things. On television, they have the most goriest and the most despicable things to watch.
They do.
And your children are being programmed with this. So they control their fears on Halloweens. Right? Let's talk about Mother's Day and Father's Day. They control when you choose to love your mother and father the most. Why can't I just call you when I feel in my heart that I want to just connect with you? Why do we have to control that day? And what's sad is, if you don't do that, what happens? Well, she must not love me.
Right.
You must not care about me.
Yep.
You understand? Especially when you create an environment that is stressful. I mean, stressful. You can't even get by. You have to really sell out to make it. You understand? And then if you don't meet the standards that they create, and that's the thing that we have to focus on, they create standards in the society that says how you should conduct or do a thing. How you're supposed to love. Like there's a manual for everything. Here's a manual for relationships. This is how a relationship is supposed to go. You have hundreds of magazines based upon how your relationship is supposed to go. Who gave them the authority to dictate that to us? You know what I'm saying? Or the newest magazines. We deal with Magus. We know that deals with Greek mythology. Right? What is the sexiest thing? What is the hottest things? What is the latest fads? You know what I'm saying? How you should dress in the summer. The newest styles. You name it. They dictate everything in our lives. And the moment you decide in your mind, I'm going to break away from this. This does not work for me or my kind. This is messing my relationship up. I can't even connect to my wife or my girlfriend because she's busy watching soap operas or she's busy listening to these fakers on the radio or watching these movies. You name it. You know what I'm saying? Or in society where people are judging you with this so-called social lifestyle, all psychology, to control you and what you do. And the thing is, the moment you think you're radical, you're a cult, you're all these titles, the whole point is control. You have mind control and you have energy control. When they can control your energy and they can control your mind, they have won. But there's a unique thing about the Nagaru soul. It's always striving. It's always looking for a way to connect with the Supreme or the highest. And that's just us. And Ashuk is the highest form of love that we must learn together to really exercise. Because he expressed to us many times. When you have Ashuk, you know what it takes is one of us to have Ashuk, and he'll be out of there. One of us. Why can't we just follow the example that he has shown us? You understand? I hope that was helpful, sister.
Yeah. Yeah, you got me on that last one. You got me on that last sentence right there.
Tua. And for those who can make it, tomorrow we're hosting an event for what we call Friendship Day.
For couples, right?
It's for couples.
Oh, okay.
Now, Friendship Day is supposed to be a day that we give thanks to each other, appreciation. Also, a day that we mend broken relationships or disagreements with each other or enemies. We're supposed to bring love in on that day. And that's really to replace the demonic holiday that they gave us called Valentine's Day, with no real root or origin. We're following the ways of a martyr named St. Valentine, or Bishop Valentine, who during the reign of Claudius II, right, was executed, you know, because he was marrying young couples during that time. And they said Valentine's Day, you're supposed to have a box of chocolates, you're supposed to have roses. That's right. And that's what happened. What they did was they captured all the young men who were, all the grooms, who were married by St. Valentine's, or Valentino, and they had them executed. They took their hearts out. This is how barbaric they are. They took the hearts out of their men, and they put it in boxes and sent it to their wives. Thus you have your box of chocolates. Because what happens to blood, right, when it congeals? What colors congeal blood? That's right, dark brown, just like chocolate. And the average person does not know that or don't care to know. Why do they care to know? Because they're so sedated. They're so into the whim If somebody don't get a gift on Valentine's Day, they are mad. They would go as far as, like a brother pointed out a long time ago, buy themselves a gift just to get that satisfaction. I'm not left out. Go ahead, brother.
Why were they killing the men? Because did it have anything to do with Rome being a gay society? They didn't want the men to marry women?
Well, here's the thing. Claudius II felt that young men were more suited for war than to get married. That's one of the reasons. The main reason. Also, if you know anything about watching the movie Caligula, you'll learn that the Romans really exercised a homosexual society. They were very strong about that. You understand? And that deals with being off balance as far as with them. And that's a whole other topic. You understand? So that's one of the reasons why. Anybody else have any other questions?
I have a question. What's spelled your real name? What's his birth name?
His birth name is York, according to the birth certificate that was issued to him in Boston, Massachusetts. When he came here, him and his mother, when they came here, he was issued a birth certificate in 1945 in Boston, Massachusetts, and the only name that was put was York. That was the name that was the English name that he was given here in America. But we know that he was born in Takarana, right? Takarana, Ghana. And he came here, right? So he has, I hope that answers your question.
So who is Dwight York?
Dwight York is a misnomer. That was the name that was given to him. That was really his son name. His oldest child was named Dwight, who we call Israel. That's his real name, you know. And they took that misnomer and they put all the charges on that. And this is something that we're battling to this day. And we just believe they're going to get theirs. They're going to get sued, big time. And they know it. That's why they're trying to keep them in there.
That's right.
Yes, sister.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. The one in the back.
Oh, okay.
So I give anybody a chance.
Okay.
I know you got a bag back there, but
Oh, you're
give
so
anybody a
sweet.
chance.
Well, I heard that Minnie Riperton, it's a lot of singers that can go to like what the fifth octave. Like they can go really high, like Mariah Carey and Minnie Riperton. I was reading up and like, well, I heard the conspiracy behind why they don't sing like that more, why they killed Minnie Riperton, well, you know, or David Riperton, etc. Was because they could tap into different dimensions and like the Men in Black came and messed it up. I don't know. That's what I heard. But if that's true, like, does that mean that the gatekeepers they can open up different doors?
You said,
Like,
your question was,
Are the gatekeepers?
yeah, I just didn't hear the very last part of the question.
people that can sing on high octaves, like very high octaves,
Sure.
like Minnie Riperton, Mariah Carey, they're opening up like another gateway. Am I correct?
You said, can singers,
No, they're opening. I'm asking they're opening up another gateway.
excuse me, sir. Okay, sis, go ahead. What's your question again?
It's a multiple question, but it's leading up to one building. So
It's fine. We have patience, don't we?
yeah, the singers like Minnie Riperton, Mariah Carey, people that can go on a high octave.
It's called the whistle effect, by the way. But go ahead.
Okay. Are they opening up other dimensions?
Are they opening up other dimensions? Okay, I would say this. I don't know the range of sound that's able to open up different dimensions, right? But we do know that sound does relate to various dimensions. For example, if a group of us was able to chant, right, on a particular frequency, that means repeating a sound over and over again. We are able to channel that sound and it can connect with beings who vibrate on a different dimension. How and where the range is, I can't say that I know that for sure. But this is something that's been practiced for thousands of years, right? And still is being practiced today. Even playing different instruments. Beating that drum at a certain rhythm. And moving about in a certain pace and singing or chanting a certain rhythm. It opens up doorways to beings that vibrate on that particular frequency. Because that's the thing, everything is vibration, like I brought up a few weeks ago in class. Everything vibrates. And in every vibration, there are stages or states of existence. A name has tone and power, and it has links to beings who are dead and alive. Dead meaning they're not incarnated or they're not physical as beings, but they still exist in another state. And those tones has the ability to connect with them, just like it has the ability to connect with those who are alive and amongst us. You understand? And in satanic rituals, they do the same thing. Everything involves speaking or playing some kind of instrument, high-pitched instrument or low-pitched instrument. But the fact is, those are doorways or dimensions to other realms that you connect to. And how you know that's a reality? Because one of the things that Uprooting is constantly stressing for us is to learn our what, people?
Language.
Our language. Because in learning our language, that is our connection to Pa and Atharu. They are able to help us at will. You understand? Our ancestors who exist in the different states of existence, or what we call dimension, they are right here, existing. But we have to learn to connect with them fully, so that channel could be direct. You understand? The brother just gave me some information concerning the whistle effect. I'm just going to read it real quick. The whistle register, also called the flageolet or flute register or whistle tone, is the highest register of the human voice, laid over the medulla register and the fluto register. So those people, Mariah Carey and Minnie Riperton has mastered that. You know who also mastered that? Opera singers. Certain opera singers have the ability to do that. This is why Pt.2 told us years ago. He said, that's not us, don't mess with opera. These people, it's like it's like moving all the junk and just focusing on that sound. And they're able to just move up and down, and they're able to connect with your emotions. And you're moved up and down. And the thing about it is, you don't know what's traveling on that into you. You don't know. People get possessed all the time. Music is a means of possessing. As I'm speaking, it's a form of singing. You understand? Chanting is a form of singing. Words are gathering sounds and creating words, as expressed by Pt.2 in various books. So I hope that answered your question to a certain extent. Like I said, I'm not sure of the range that one can open up a portal, but the fact is, we're doing it all the time at different stages. Did you get that question, brother? Okay. And with that answer, I will pass the class now over to my good brother, Wu-Nuwaupu.
Bravo.
Welcome back.
Any questions? Yes.
If the Wu-Sabat language is ancient in the original language, why does it change?
Very good question. The reason why Wu-nuwaupu within our tones, and of course in English is Wu-nuwaupu changes, is because it's living, it's alive. Everything that is living changes. Anything that is dead stays the same. It actually has different vibrations and different frequencies, different pitches. And the same in which he was telling us to learn the language, this is what actually, like when they explain the story within your Bible text about Nimrod, that we know as Sargon, and they actually gathered together as one and formulated their own tongue, their own speaking ability. Well, that language was Wu-nuwaupu. And they were able to block out negative frequencies coming from the disagreeable Anunnaki. And this is one of the things in which he's talking about, with, you know what I'm saying, we have to raise our vibrations. But there's different things, like, as far as the sister was asking, like the different tones of vibrations that may open up different dimensions and so forth. These things are known. Like, you can actually even, they can change you on the dimension or the frequency in which you're supposed to be on. As Nagaru, you can be changed by constantly hearing the Caucasus voice. If you're constantly around those tones and those vibrations, it will change your DNA for you to want and look and smell and act and walk and talk like them. So vibration does carry, you know what I'm saying, also the same way as light. So even by way of their TVs and their cinemas, with their surround sound, that actually makes you into a zombie. I want to be, you know what I'm saying, basically you're just following orders, and you're just taking, you know what I'm saying, orders to be like unto them. This is how you're going to dress this year. This is the new dress code for the school season. They all dress like this. This is the new shoe for the summer. You know, this is what they do. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Wiz, the black version, Michael Jackson. Watch it again. It's one of my favorite movies. Reason being because it represents the sun cycle and the coming in of the sun cycle and them coming out of the stigmas and the stereotypes of what the Caucasus put them in and the spells that they were under. And they basically came off the walls of graffiti, you know what I'm saying? They came alive. And they were talking about how they have soul within their community, you know. Yeah, and it was all into that. And they was telling her, like, you know what I'm saying, oh, you got more power than what you think. You just killed one of, you know what I'm saying, the spells just by, you broke bounds of your limitations of what they say where you supposed to live. So she traveled, but it was a representation. She traveled mentally. And she traveled through, you know what I'm saying, different portals, mentally. She raised her vibration. Just by wonder, she raised her vibration. And that was because of the consistency of her family members talking to her, telling her, you can do this, you can do that, encouragement. It's the same way in which we have to do with one another. It's the same way that sometimes you may leave these classes, go home, take a rest, or have a good night's sleep, and you done travel with the Nadaru. And they done showed you things. And they done verified things for you. Or they may even, if they can't get through you because you're so doubtful or stressful, then they may work through someone close to you. But your eyes may be open. You have to be open. You have to be willing to want yourself. You have to be willing to want you and who and what you are. But the only way you're going to get that will or that love for self is to know thyself, which all of our leaders have said. You must know yourself. Know thyself. He put out a book called Diagnosis of the Races, which main thing he starts off is basically diagnosing yourself. What type of foods you like. What type of foods you don't like. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you go on. From lights, sounds, clothing, favorite colors, all these things. Because it helps, it pinpoints the realities within yourself and the irrealities. It's a form of discipline. To actually take a look at yourself and stop looking out to say what you want. And once you start doing that, you'll realize there's so many different things that you say you like, you may not even know what they are. You just accepted them on likeness of consistency of that vibration and those negative frequencies that they put out towards you. How many times you've been listening to a song that you really, and you know, for the first time you heard it, you said, I do not like that song. Before you know it, you're singing it. Because they play it so much. So it's the same way with your white bosses and the so-called co-workers. You know what I'm saying? Because they ain't working like you. Believe you me, they're not working like you. They have a different charge. If they're Caucasus, in this country, they have a different charge. Because their charge is like, this is my country. That's the same thing with your citizen arrest. When have you seen many Nagarus make citizen arrest? Not so often. Because we don't feel that it's ours. We don't feel that the laws are made for us, by us. And this is what he's given us. He's given us the rights to ourselves, the rights to our ancestors, our birthright, our connection with our ancestors and the Nadaru, our ancient ones. So we'll move on our vibration and we can reach certain levels on this plane of existence as being supreme beings. meaning someone who is superior on this level of existence, on this vibration, as a physical being. But that's what it means with Nuwaupu, you know what I'm saying? Nuwaupu. And the reason why it changes, because, you know what I'm saying, it's alive. And we're alive. And it's going to consistently change. But you'll be changing too. If you speak it, it's going to change you. See, the science of Nuwaupu, that's different. But Nuwaupu is a part of that science. And it's different for us here than on other planes of existence in other galaxies. Well, we do have letters where he has written and told us about other beings of his brotherhood, Galactical Brotherhood, which have come to him and explained that they teach Nuwaupu from whence they come. But it's different than what's here. They say that they are master teachers from whence they come. But it's different than what he has to do here, because we're a different being. Like he said, I wish I could have come to the ants. It would have been easier. Because they work. You see how the ants work? And the reality is, ants are, you know what I'm saying, in one state, like he said, like people have egos, which is one of the mental diseases and illnesses. You look at it, and it's one of the most poisonous ones, especially for progression. You know? But the thing is, when you look at the ants, he said, take a look at the ants, and then take a look at the stars. And place yourself somewhere in between, and then you realize how insignificant you are. So you have to realize that. We have to always realize that. Like he says, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to just be nice. So, you know, it's different things about our character that we have to still straighten out to get to those levels of being supreme beings. To be a supreme being doesn't mean you step on the ants. Or you step on, what I mean by that, you step on those who you see may be lower than you in vibration. That's what's wrong with the Caucasus. It was their time to rule, but they went overboard with it. They were actually trying to wipe us out by every means and any means necessary. But because of who we are, and our genetic connection and spiritual connection, you know what I'm saying, they cannot wipe us out. They would throw this whole solar system in a star of holocaust, meaning an implosion, meaning everything will be sucked into the sun. So there's nothing that they can do. And everything that they do right now, their time is up. Everything that they do is like being in quicksand. Every move you make, you sink further and further. So, you know what I'm saying, Nuwaupu is very important. Don't worry about the change. Worry about those people who are not changing. Change is a good thing. Even your president says that. It's time for a change. We got to put our foot down, but we can't count on people in political seats. We have to look at the everyday life of who are you sitting by? Who do you go home to? Who do you have to walk past to go home to? Who do you have to get out your car to go into the store? You know what I'm saying? This is what we have to do. We have to change the vibration of ourselves so we control our environments, any environment that we walk into. And that's being a supreme being. And be ready and willing to approach and address responsibility, or be able to respond. And Nuwaupu does that. It actually is the solution everywhere, in all given times. That's why the affirmation and information that we have received goes beyond just 6,000 years or 4,000 years of their Bible, or 2,000 years of their Jesus, or 1,400 years of their Muhammad. It goes beyond that. It's 76 trillion years of knowledge, which we will have to go into other realms of vibration. We have to raise our frequencies to connect our ancestors so we can actually make connection with our oversouls. And those whole light beings can be accepted here in this realm. There's a morphogenetic situation that is taking place with your dimensional shift, meaning that the genetic patterns that have been placed here are actually come from other planes of existence called Razak, or risk in Ilium, the 19th galaxy, in which Panabab Yanun is from. And he comes here to teach us. That's the spiritual aspect of his being. You follow? Not the physical. The physical, he was born just like you on this plane of existence. But some of us don't know how far we are, how far we go back. And we do, being that, you know what I'm saying, if 2 Nagarus was left on this planet, all of us could live through those 2. Because we have the same flesh and blood. But yet, and still, in the flip side of it, going the other way, in reverse, we have to realize from whence we come, not just from where we're going, but from whence we come. We all come from the same source. There's one soul, many bodies. So we were born on this plane of existence. We came through, you know what I'm saying, mothers and fathers. The natural law of this plane of existence. Any other questions? Yes.
How do you rid yourself of the ego?
That's a very good question. One moment. Okay. All right. There's a chapter. I don't know if you have the mind book, mind scroll. You have that? All right. You have the Holy Tablets? Okay. It's in chapter 7. Let me see. Okay, in the Holy Tablets, it's in chapter 7, tablet 31, and it's actually called Uprooting the Ego. I'm going to read just a little bit of it, and I'll talk about certain things. It says, "Lo, I have brought to your attention the knowledge of what you all carry within your personality, and that is the ego. Now I must teach you how to uproot the ego. It must be evident by now that being righteous, being a child of Elohim, and Elo and El, meditating and being saved, or being religious entails far more than just making a claim. Sitting with the eyes closed, the legs crossed, saying, 'I'm God,' and lip confessions. It demands rigorous introspection and overhauling of one's personality, life patterns and values, behavior corrections, and uprooting of weaknesses, and relatively easy adjustments to make. The moral obstacles which lie deep within. The emotional imbalancements of personality defects the nature, outward, malevolent, disagreeable habits. The petty, obstinate egoism behind the mask of the human personality is one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. For it veils the light within, which supports surface thoughts and perpetrates its own habitual feelings and actions. This lower self-arrogant nature must be whittled down, for if it persists in retaining its limited false values, no amount of spiritual practice will bear fruit. Too often people profess of being righteous, yet they are unwilling to eradicate and lower nature and change the old habits. Clinging to them, they refuse even to admit the need for change. This type of individual will never make any real progress. For without radical transformation of the lower nature, one goes nowhere. It is not easy to change deeply ingrained habits, and the sincere person who's just attempting to change often feels helpless against them. By regular spiritual practice, untiring selfless service, association with spiritual-minded people, and strong determination to eradicate egoism, a powerful but selfless will is developed." You got that? I'm going to read it again. A sincere person who just attempting to change often feels helpless against them. By regular spiritual practice, untiring selfless service, association with spiritual-minded people, and strong determination to eradicate egoism, a powerful but selfless will is developed. One must introspect and discover all weakness and defects. The transmitting of lower nature to higher nature demand full, heartfelt dedication. The transmitting of lower nature to higher nature demand full and heartfelt dedication. Sometimes the old personality attempts to reestablish itself, even after years of purifying, obstinately self-assertive and self-supportive by the lower mind and will. It can make the aspirant incorrigible, unruly, arrogant, and impertinent. Identifying with the ego, he or she breaks all the rules and disciplines, revolts against all things, and all is ever ready to fight with those who are unwilling to respect his or her views and opinions, wallowing in self-justification and denying faults and defect. I'm going to read the whole thing. The person may be unaware of the effects of his or her actions, for the intellect had been clouded by impurities, not knowing what he or she means and not meaning what he or she says. He or she is too self-willed and self-satisfied to see the error of his or her ways. One who is not straightforward and cannot keep discipline or open his or her heart to others cannot be helped by any teaching. Nothing can help one who deliberately shuts his or her eyes against truth. Such a person, instead of making progress along life's paths, it remains struck in the mirror of his or her own creation. If there is any recognition that something is wrong, the slightest attempt to improve, or even a slightly receptive attitude, then the errors can be corrected. One who is frank with his or her teacher and him or herself begins to realize the nature and source of his or her defects. He or she is soon on the way to improving his or her life. That's, like I said, chapter 7. It's tablet 31 in the Holy Tablets. Yeah. 31. The thing is that I often said, like, ever since I've been in this, dealing with partner Babi as a doctor, as we all, you know what I'm saying, have known him to be Dr. York, right? Because he has the healing powers that we need as a race of people. And the thing is that a lot of times, man, you know, people can have so much ego, man, they can't face up to something. You know, people don't like things to be pointed out by others. And sometimes it's needed because the person will keep going on until their death. Like I say, where there's ignorance, death is not too far behind. You know, and when people keep ignoring facts, especially about themselves, like many of our leaders said, know thyself. Because if you don't know yourself, everybody else is clocking you. And they will even use what you don't know about yourself against you. You're acting it out, but you have not identified what it is. Therefore, you don't have the proper control, nor the proper purpose is not being equated with your actions. You think you're doing something for other reasons. And it's only equating to whatever energy that action takes. Whatever the results of that energy, that's what it's going to take upon. So if you think you're better than everybody else, but your actions is really not showing it, it's ego. So I'm just saying, it's not about actually going to a doctor and saying I have a stomach ache, right? And when he gets to the point of examining you and he puts pressure on everything and asks you all the right questions of any symptoms, and you say nothing, what is he supposed to do? He cannot cure you. He can't do nothing with you. He's going to send you on your way. And soon you will die. Because that's a sign of some type of illness. That's a sign that something's wrong, pain. So the reality is that we have to start to identify ourselves. A lot of times we have pains within ourselves, emotional pains. We have pains for one another. And sometimes we have pains for ourselves and within our families that run so deep, we start to look at everybody else like they're wrong. We hate ourselves. And really, who you hate is really